Okay, so this is for my 6th graders, Lonnie and AJ. So we're doing this 6.1b student activity, and they ask us, how do I convert 1/4 to an equivalent decimal? So first we're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, the numerator is 1. The denominator is 4, right? So that means that, again, the top number, the numerator, that goes inside the box. The 4 goes on the outside. 4 doesn't go into 1, so I got to add a decimal and put a 0. 4 goes into 10 twice. And if I subtract that, I get a 2. I need to add a 0, bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. All right, so that is going to be my quotient. So it says the quotient is, we're going to put 0.25. Therefore, 0.25 is the decimal equivalent to 1/4. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one says, how do I convert 6/8 to an equivalent decimal? Same thing. Divide the numerator by the denominator. The numerator is 6. The denominator is 8. So remember, 6 is going to go inside the house, and 8 is going to go on the outside because it's at the bottom. 8 doesn't go into 6, so I got to add a decimal and a 0 and put the decimal up here. 8 goes into 67 times because 8 times 7 is 56. Subtract, that gives me 4. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 45 times. Bring down the 40 to 0. So the quotient is 0.75. Therefore, 0.75 is the decimal equivalent to 6/8. Okay? Let's go to the next one. So it says, how do I convert 1/2 to an equivalent decimal? So first, convert the fraction 1/2 to an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. Oh, sorry, 10. Sorry, 10, not 110. The equivalent fraction with a denominator of 10 is 5, right? Because 2 times 5 gives me 10, and 1 times 5 gives me 5. So I'm going to put here times 5 times 5. Okay, so our equivalent, if we make the denominator 10, that means that the top number would have to be 5. And it's read as 5/10. And is equivalent to the decimal 0.5, or 0.5. Therefore, 0.5 is the decimal equivalent of 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one. How do I convert 3 5/8 to an equivalent mixed decimal? Well, you can use the whole number part of the mixed fraction as the whole number part of the mixed decimal. And then you're going to divide the numerator of the fraction part of the mixed fraction by the denominator, which is 5 and 8. So let's do that. So hopefully you know by now that if the numerator is 5, that means it's inside because it's the top number, right? So that goes inside the house, and the outside is going to be 8. And 8 can't go into 5, so I got to add a decimal and a 0, put the decimal up. 8 goes into 50 6 times, because 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract, you get 2, bring down a 0. 8 goes into 20 2 times. Gives me 4, bring down a 0. 8 goes into 45 times. So it's 0.625. So the quotient is, the quotient is the fraction part of the mixed decimal. Therefore, 3.625 is the blank decimal equivalent of 3 5/8. Mixed decimal equivalent of 3 5/8. So basically up here we're just saying that we keep the whole number and then we just get the decimal of the fraction and then we just put that together. Okay, and we did that in the last lesson that we did yesterday. So let's go to the next page. The next page, it says write a decimal equivalent for the fraction in each box. Okay, so 1/5. Well, let's think about this. So 1/5, I can divide that, or I can make an equivalent fraction, right? So if I make this an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 10, I know that I'm multiplying times 2 to get 10, so I multiply times 2 up here, that gives me 2. So that'd be 2/10. So that means my decimal here is 0.2. Remember, because this is the 10th place. So any number over 10 would be written with a decimal of whatever that number is on the numerator would go right there in the 10th place. Okay, so then 2/3, that's not going to be able to, that 3 is not a factor of 10, so we're going to have to divide this. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go up here. The top number 2 is going to go in the box, the 3 is going to go on the outside. 3 doesn't go into 2, so I got to add a decimal and a 0. 3 goes into 26 times. Gives me 18. Now 2 left over. Then I bring down a 0. So 3 will go into 20, same thing, 6 times. And if you notice, that's just going to keep on happening. It's just going to keep repeating. So it's just going to be 0.66 repeating. Okay, and then 3/4. 4 is also not a factor of 10, but it is a factor of 100. So I could make it equivalent fraction over 100. So 4 times 25 is 100, and 3 times 25 would be 75. So this would be 0.75. Or you could also have just divided 3 into 4. Okay, and then the next one, 2/8. 8 is not a factor of 10. It's also, well, let's see. I don't think it's a factor of 100 either. So we're just going to divide this. I mean, you can make this an equivalent fraction though into 1/4. But we're just going to go ahead and divide it so we can have some more examples of dividing. So I'm going to put the 2 on the inside, the 8 on the outside, and 8 doesn't go into 2, so I have to put a 0.0 and bring the decimal up. 8 goes into 20 3 times. No, wait, not 3 times, 2 times. So 2 times. 8 times 2 is 16. Bring down the 0. That's going to give me 8 times 5, gives me 40. So it's going to be 0.25. 7/8, same thing. I'm going to have to divide this. So this is going to be 7 on the inside, 8 on the outside. 8 doesn't go into 7, so I have to put a 0.0 and bring the decimal up. 8 goes into 70, let's see, 8 times 8 is 64, so it'll be 8. 64 minus going to be 6, bring down to 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times. It's going to be a 4, bring down a 0, and it's a 5. And that'll be even, and they'll stop the division, so this will be 0.875. Okay, so it says for each fraction converted to a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator, or you can find an equivalent fraction where the denominator is either 10 or 100 as well. And then it says the quotient is the I'm trying to remember what it is, the decimal equivalent. The quotient is the decimal equivalent of the fraction. Okay, then let's go to the next part. It says write a mixed decimal equivalent for the mixed fraction in each box. For each mixed fraction converted to a mixed decimal, use the whole number part of the mixed fraction as the whole number part of the mixed decimal. Okay, so a mixed fraction means you got a whole number with a fraction, and a mixed decimal means you got a whole number with some decimal, right? So, for example, where's your other page? So, for example, let's see, where was it? 3.625 would have been a mixed decimal. Just like 3 5/8 was a mixed fraction. Okay, so just know that. So we want to convert that to a mixed decimal, then divide the numerator by the denominator of the fraction part of the mixed fraction. The quotient is the part of the mixed decimal that is to the right of the decimal point, because the quotient is the equivalent of the fraction part of the mixed fraction. Okay, so on this one, for example, I'm going to put a 2 here, because that's going to stay the same. And the 2/5, I'm going to have to divide that. Or I can make an equivalent fraction. So let's see, so 2/5 equals, 10 is a multiple of 5, so I know that I can multiply 5 times 2 to get 10. And I can multiply, if I do that, then I can do the same thing to the top. So 2 times 2 would be 4. So this would be, since this is 4/10, it's going to be a 4 on the 10th place, so it's 2.4. So that's one way. 3/4, again, 4 is not a multiple of 10, but it is a multiple of 100. So we can write here 3/4 equals 100 on the bottom. I know that 4 times 25 would give me 100, and 3 times 25 would give me 75. So that means this goes to the hundredths place, right? Because this is the 10th place, hundredths place. So this would be 0.75 here. And remember, we keep the whole number the same. The whole number for the fraction is the same as the whole number for the mixed decimal. Okay, and then there's this one. And we're going to keep the whole number the same, so it's going to be 5. And if you notice 3/6, that's half, right? 3 is half of 6. So this is just half. And half is written as 0.5. But if you wanted to divide that, you could. So I'm going to show you, in case you were wondering. You can put the numerator in the box, the denominator on the outside. 6 goes into 3 no times, so I got to add a decimal and a 0. The decimal up here. 6 goes into 35 times. And there you have it, it is 0.5. Okay, 3 1/8. The 3 goes here, and the 1/8, we're going to divide that. So inside the box goes the 1, because that's the top number. Outside the box goes the bottom number. 8 doesn't go into 1, I got to add a decimal and a 0. Put the decimal up here. 8 goes into 10 twice. Oh, not twice, sorry, once. I don't know what I was thinking. Once. So that's going to be 2. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. And then bring down a 0. 8 goes into 45 times. So this would be 0.125. 3.125. Okay, so I want to see, you guys should be able to do this one, so you should go ahead and try to do that one on your own. You have a homework page that you do need to complete. So go ahead and do that at this point. Okay? But you can get it with a partner if Ms. Pessel allows you. If not, then just work on your own. Alright? I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.